In this lecture, we're going to talk about the Comet interface and navigating around the homepage. And at first glance, this looks much like your Google Chrome interface. It's very clean, it's sparse, and it gets the job done quite well, and it's not at all cluttered. And you know, this just popped up, and I already have it as my default browser. I don't know why it keeps asking me. Of course, it could be just a beta issue or a bug that they're going to fix at some point fairly soon. In any case, what we've got here is essentially we've got Perplexity wrapped inside of the browser plus a whole lot more. And you can tell that obviously we're not in Chrome because Chrome wouldn't have this icon here to go. This actually goes to Perplexity. And then we've got icons down here for the account and to upgrade your Perplexity account and so on. And then you can bring this out and look at all of your various prompts that you've done and your spaces and everything that you'd normally find inside of Perplexity. Okay, so this is very much has a look and feel of Google Chrome, and I kind of like it because I've always liked the Google homepage where it's just there's not much there, and I always like the very clean Spartan interface. Now, there's some things that you can do here. It says you can ask anything. So you can type @ for mentions. We'll get into that later, or / for shortcuts. And but essentially, this is the same prompt area that you'd find in Perplexity. And I'm pretty convinced that I'll be spending less and less time in Perplexity itself because Comet has Perplexity built in, as well as a whole slew of other features, which we'll get into. But essentially, you can ask anything, and you can do a standard search. You can do a deep research, just like you can within Perplexity. You can go to Perplexity Labs, and then you can control here what sort of model you want to use, or what model you want to use, and then set the sources for the search. So do you want to search the web? Do you want to search social, academic, finance, and so on? Attachments, and of course the microphone where you can actually speak into the browser and tell Perplexity verbally what it is you want to do. Now, as I mentioned, you can ask anything in this area here exactly like you can do it in Perplexity. In fact, if I went to Perplexity, I don't want to do that, but essentially if you use Perplexity, you know how this works, and Perplexity has this same ability here. But you can also ask anything or navigate up here in the address bar. So there is an address bar, and I could say, oh, tell me something about Perplexity Comet. Okay, now I did not request a specific web page, I just asked it a question. And it tells me right here, Perplexity Comet is an AI-powered web browser designed to seamlessly integrate blah, blah, blah. Okay, so you can do that here, and that created a new tab that contains this information here. Now, again, this is not a web page per se. This is just a tab inside of the browser containing the information that you requested. Okay, I'm going to close this tab, and let's go back here to, let me close that right there. Okay, and now we're back to the home page. Now, what you see down here are links to popular sites on the web that you go to on a regular basis. Now, I don't know how it determined that, because I did not tell it that I almost always go, I've always got Gmail loaded, and I go to YouTube all the time, and I go to Udemy quite often, and I go to LinkedIn quite often. Now, maybe it analyzed my Google history and saw that I go there all the time and added those links. Now, I can remove these links. I can just click on remove here. But at this point, I haven't found an actual way to add a link here. So maybe this is something they're going to add in the future, but at the moment, adding a link here, I do not know how to do that. Maybe by the end of the course, I'll figure it out. But you know, right-clicking here, there's no option to add a link. There's no option to add a link up here. So any case, now I could actually take, let's say LinkedIn, or this is my X account. I could drag it here, but that simply enters it into the search area here. Okay, well, that's not really what I want. It'd be nice if I could just add a link. Okay. Now down here are what Comet calls widgets. And each of these widgets, for example, this is the current temperature where I am. This is the current time where I am. This is the current stock price of NVIDIA. I don't know why I would want to know that. I don't own any shares of NVIDIA, although I wish I did. I wish I would have bought it several years ago. But these widgets you can add or remove. So I can, if you click on one, you can go to settings, which shows you some settings about the widget, or you can remove it. Okay, so I'm going to remove these widgets because I don't really need these here. I'm going to remove and then remove again. Now I can come down here and click on edit widgets, and there is a list of widgets. I have no doubt they're going to be adding additional widgets and quite possibly the ability to create new widgets here. Again, this is still very, very new, so I would suspect that that functionality is coming, and then I can just click done. By the way, if I wanted to add a widget like sticky notes, maybe I want to add sticky notes, and I could keep a list of notes here in my browser. That's kind of nice. I might want to do that, but for now I'm going to remove this. Okay, and then when I'm done, I can just click on done, and that goes away. Now we also have two additional options down here on the home page. We can try the assistant. Now the assistant is really what sets Comet apart from every other browser, and this is where we're going to spend most of our time in the course. So I'm not going to spend really any time getting into the assistant right now, but we will extensively later. We've been to widgets. Now there's also something called invites, and what this allows me to do is to invite 2 people to try Comet. Now I wish this was unlimited because I would give each of you an invite that didn't have access to this, and it could be the link that I provided earlier will get you access. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see how that works. But again, by the time you go through this course, you very well everybody may have access, and the whole invitation scheme has been removed. And in fact, let's go back here. In fact, when you're taking this course, you may not even see this because once Comet hits general release, there won't be any need for invites. So you may have already, this could be 2-3 weeks or a month or two after this is released. This very likely could be gone completely. Okay, and then up here, as I mentioned, we've got the address bar, we've got the back button, the forward button, refresh, the microphone where you can enter commands verbally. This is all just like a standard browser. And over here then we've got copy URL, if we want to copy the URL. Summarize the current web page. Now, I'm not going to get into that here because this is really part of the assistant, and it's a very, very powerful part of the Comet browser. In fact, once we get into this, you are just going to be blown away by some of the things that we can do in this browser. And I think in a very, very short period of time, Chrome and Microsoft Edge and Firefox, they are going to be a thing of the past unless somehow they adapt to this. And maybe they already are. They obviously know Comet is coming and is almost here. They've got to be working on something to compete with this. Okay, and then launch voice mode, which is the same as this. We're not going to do that here. And then this is the assistant. I can click on the assistant, and this brings open the assistant's pane, but this is as far as I'm going to go here because this requires a whole complete full explanation as to all the amazing things that we can do in the assistant. And then I'm going to close this, and then this drop down, we've seen this before. This looks very much like I said before, the Chrome drop down where we have settings. We've been down here, exit help, all of these various options here that exist in Chrome. And then finally we have this little button here where I click and we can go to passwords and autofill. We've already talked about that. Customize profile, add a Comet profile, open a guest profile, manage Comet profiles. This is kind of an odd thing, and I don't really know where Comet is going with this, but a Comet profile really, it refers to your personalized context within the browser experience. However, the browser doesn't really require you to sign in or to create a specific Comet profile for basic browsing. So I don't really know what the purpose is. Instead, the term profile, I think, generally refers to how Comet continuously learns from your actions, from your questions, from your summaries, from your interactions, building a personalized understanding of the things that you're interested in or what you're curious about during all of your browsing sessions. Now, this could include contextual memory. So, Comet, as I mentioned before, it observes what you highlight, what you research, what you ask about during web browsing, agentic capabilities. So, as I mentioned before, Comet acts like a personal agent. So it could be that the profile has some influence on how these agents, this personal agent works. So at the moment, that's about all I have to say on these profiles. I don't intend to do anything with it. I haven't done anything with the profile. And until I learn differently, I don't really see what use they have.